more people who might be trying to join and might be facing some kind of issue. So in the meantime, I request all of you to be a little patient, and we'll start the webinar within 5 to 10 minutes as soon as we have sufficient attendance. Thank you. Patience. My name is Siddharth Pandey. I belong to FCRSL New Delhi main branch. I welcome all of you to this presentation organized by us to make the stakeholders in various organizations aware about the process for opening FCRA accounts and streamline the process as much as possible so every customer can get their account opened in as short a time as possible. So let's start. The main point that the first thing I should mention is that FCRA accounts, as I hope all of you are already aware, is for receiving foreign contributions and are regulated under the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act of 2010, which has recently been amended in September 2020. Under this amendment, only State Bank of India, New Delhi main branch, is authorized to open FCRA accounts, and all funds, foreign contributions, have to flow through those accounts starting with 1st April 2021. Okay, if you have your account open with New Delhi main branch before that or 31st March, whichever happens earlier, after that, all funds have to be sent only to the New Delhi main branch FCRA account, and no other branch, no other bank is authorized to open FCRA accounts. You will not even be able to receive funds in your pre-existing FCRA accounts after 31st March. Okay. At the same time as you're going to open your FCRA account, I am also going to request all of you to open a utilization account with State Bank of India as well. Only the FCRA account is mandatory. You can use a utilization account in any other bank, but we recommend is State Bank of India, because if both your accounts are in the same bank, it will be easier to process some transactions in the future, and it will also be easier for monitoring and reporting purposes for MHA. Okay, so the key points which you should remember throughout the process is the accounts can only be opened with New Delhi main branch, not even another branch of SBI. Even if you already have an account, FCRA account with State Bank of India, it cannot be transferred to New Delhi main branch. That is because of a circular dated 13th of October by Ministry of Home Affairs, which restricts which says that all accounts have to be freshly opened accounts and they cannot be transferred from another branch of State Bank of India. Continuing on, you can opt to open either a savings or a current FCRA account. Okay, but there is no restriction, there is no difference between the procedure for the two. The only difference here will be you will earn savings interest in your savings FCRA account, but you will also have to submit 12A or 12AA certificate issued by Income Tax Authority of India to be eligible for the savings account. That is the only difference. Okay. Apart from that, you can also open your FCRA account even before you complete your registration for FCRA under MHA. And if you are already registered, you will be required to update your details with MHA after your account has been opened. Your account will only become active after you have updated or registered with MHA under FCRA Act, and after that, you have to give us the details, the documents that MHA gives to you regarding this updation, that you will be receiving your foreign contribution funds in this particular account. Only at that point will your account become activated. Okay. Then lastly, you can approach any branch of State Bank of India for opening your FCRA account. It is not just restricted to some particular branches. Any branch can be approached, because all that branch has to do is just receive your documents, verify them from the original, and then forward them to New Delhi main branch. It's not going to be any particular branch's responsibility to actually open the FCRA account. Even the utilization account, because it's a purely domestic account, can be opened with any branch of India, okay, of State Bank of India. Okay, some branch we are trying to reach and convey to every branch that they can receive, open these accounts. One second, excuse me. Sorry. Okay. So we are trying to organize similar meetings to sensitize the branches regarding the importance of this project and to make sure they understand what all goes into this so that they are aware and they do not turn any customer away. In the meantime, if you approach a branch and they do not cooperate with you, you can recommend to the branch itself to contact us regarding the details and the information for opening this account. I'll give you the contact information at the end. Or alternatively, if the staff of the branch are in any way uh, creating some obstacles in your path, then you can raise complaints against them, and I'll share that information with you as well, so that the complaint is directly escalated to their in charge, the regional manager, and he will coordinate with the branch and let them know that they are required to cooperate with you. Okay. So the first thing you should do before you start the account opening process is go through the checklist. I have already provided the checklist to each and every one of you when I sent you the link for this email. So make sure the first thing you do is go through that checklist. Okay, and if you have any doubts, you can approach your nearby branch with the checklist, and they will clarify any doubts for you. After that, if you don't already have an account with State Bank of India, we request you to consider whether you wish to open a utilization account with us or not. If you already have an account, it can be used as a utilization account. Even if it's an FCRA account, it can be converted into a utilization account for your use in the future. But if you don't have any account, we recommend opening a utilization. Okay, for opening the utilization account, you will be required to submit an additional set of all the documents. Okay, your KYC documents, your organization's trust deed, registration PAN, etc. And then similarly, the account opening form will also have to be submitted in duplicate. One for opening your FCRA account, which will be sent to New Delhi main branch, and one for opening your utilization account, which will be retained by the branch that you're going to approach, whichever is more convenient to you, that branch you can approach. Okay. Before you approach the branch, you should also decide whether you wish to open a current or a savings account. And if you want a savings account, make sure you have your 12A or 12AA certificate issued by the Income Tax Authority so that you can take that to the branch. Copy of that will also have to be submitted. Then the second important document that you should go through yourself is your trust deed or bylaws or for your organization. Okay, so when you go through these documents, you should find out what is the which body is authorized to open your maintain accounts with banks, and then what is the quorum for that particular body. The quorum will play an important role because that is going to decide who will sign your board resolution and your list of current members. I'll come to these documents, but make sure you understand what is the quorum for your organization. Okay. Then, in case your document does not specify what constitutes a quorum, by default, everyone will have to sign, all members will have to sign the board resolution to meet the quorum requirements. So, but if it says 1/3 of full membership, then only 1/3 can sign, and that is sufficient for the board resolution to be acceptable. Okay. Another thing I'd like to mention, some particular trust deeds or bylaws allow a single person to maintain an account. But in that case, we are not going to accept a board resolution or a letter issued by that single person unless he has a power of attorney. Okay, so even if a single person is authorized to maintain the account, he can be the single authorized signatory in the account, but still for that, a board resolution signed by a quorum of the board members will have to be passed. So the first document that you should prepare after going through the checklist and this is your board resolution. You can use the format that I have sent you as reference. Do not copy and paste it as it is. Please fill in the details appropriately. It is very important that you use the correct language in the board resolution. If you use an incorrect language and there is some ambiguity, then that board resolution will not be accepted and you will have to change the board resolution. Okay. This BR has to be on the letterhead of your organization. This is mandatory. Further, it has to specify that you are requesting to open an FCRA account with State Bank of India. FCRA term is very important. It also has to mention whether you wish to open a current FCRA or a savings FCRA. This is why I said you have to decide which you want to open, because that has to be included in the board resolution itself, with either current or savings. If you want to open a utilization account as well at the same time as you're opening the FCRA account, then we request you to submit 2 copies of the board resolution. You can either have a separate board resolution completely for the utilization account if the authorized signatories for the utilization account are different, or you can have 2 copies of the identical board resolution, and in the same board resolution you can mention that we wish to open a current FCRA account and a utilization account with State Bank of India. Then it has to mention that the account has to be opened with New Delhi main branch of SBI, not any other branch. You can just say State Bank of India. You can say New Delhi main branch of State Bank of India. You cannot say Kirti Nagar branch of State Bank of India. No other branch should be mentioned on board resolution. Okay. It has to mention who the authorized signatories will be for your account, their names, and if they have some designations, then those designations also have to be mentioned. Then further, if their signatures have to be present on the board resolution. Okay, so if they are already signing as part of the quorum, then that's fine. They do not have to sign separately again. But if, let's say, you are authorizing someone who is not part of your board members to sign your accounts, in that case, they will have to put their specimen signature on the board resolution itself, so that we can verify that these the board is authorizing these particular signatories with these signatures to operate the account. Then the mode of operation. This is very important. Please be clear about what is going to be the mode of operation of your account. Either of these 2, all of these 5 collectively, any 2 out of these 5, something like that. Whatever mode of operation you want for your account, please use clear and easy to understand language. Here the terminology becomes very important, because if there is any ambiguity, you are the one who is going to be responsible for any discrepancies in the transactions. Okay. Lastly, all the members who are going to sign your board resolution have to provide their KYC documents to just self-attested Aadhaar and PAN card to SBI. Okay, all members who are signing the board resolution itself. Okay, not every member. If some member is not signing the board resolution and he is not an authorized signatory, he is not a position holder in your organization, then he doesn't have to submit any documents. Their names have to be there on the list of current board members anyways. So this is the second document that you should prepare. Again, it has to be on the letterhead of your organization, and it has to mention all the members of your organization with their designations. Okay, then at the bottom it can be signed by a quorum of your members. Okay, if you want, you can also get it get every member's signature, but in that case we will require every member's KYC. So quorum is what we recommend to make the job easier. Some people are asking questions in the chat. I will only answer questions at the end of this presentation. So let's continue. So apart from the list of current board members that you're going to submit to us on the letterhead, we require further proof that the list you are submitting to us matches with the list that you are going to provide to the government. So there are 2 means of verifying that. One is to get it stamped by the registrar of societies or the registrar of trusts, or whoever is the registrar for your particular organization. For companies, it's going to be someone different, things like that. So whoever is the registrar for your particular organization in your region, that is the registrar who is going to be responsible for verifying the current list of members. Okay, but let's say your organization hasn't undergone any change in the list of members. Since it was formed in the memorandum or the trust deed, all the members have been mentioned and there has been no change at all. No one new has joined, or even in case someone has died. Even in that case, we do not require separate proof. What you can do is you can submit their death certificate. Otherwise, see, in that case, what happens is the list we are going to provide on the letterhead matches with the list that is already there in the trust deed, and the trust deed has already been stamped by the registrar. Okay, so we do not require any further proof in that case. But if there has been some change, some updation, someone new has joined, in that case, the current list has to be verified by the registrar. Okay, but let's say it takes too long get it stamped by the registrar. You have an alternative in that case. You can go to NGO Darpan website, and over there you can log in using your organization's credentials, and there you can update the current list of members. So we can verify the list you're going to provide on the letterhead from NGO Darpan as well. Okay, so if you update your list, you can take a printout of that and submit it to the branch, who will verify it from the website. Okay, so make sure the members and their designations mentioned on NGO Darpan matches with what you're providing on the letterhead of the organization. Next is the current address of the organization. So if your registered office has not changed since your trust deed or registration certificate was passed, and it has your current address, in that case, no further proof of your address is required. But let's say there has been a change in address. Your registered address is no longer valid. You have moved to some other location. In that case, we will require a proof of that address. What are the acceptable proofs of the address? An amendment to the trust deed. This is the best one. If it is signed by the registrar, that is perfect. That is the ideal case, and we will accept that as updation in your registered address. Alternatively, we will also accept a utility bill in the name of your organization only. The utility bill cannot be in the name of your landlord or something like that. It has to be in the name of the organization. We can also accept FCRA certificate if it has been issued at your latest to your latest address, or income tax return if you have filed in the last year. You can submit that as proof of your current address as well. Okay. Then MLM declaration, multi-level marketing declaration. Most of you are not going to be a multi-level marketing entity, but we will still require a declaration regarding this. So if you're using the latest account opening form, which I have provided, in that case, you do not need to provide a separate MLM declaration. On page 2, under nature of business, there is MLM declaration already there as part of the account opening form. You can take the appropriate section and that is sufficient. Okay, but in case you are using an older version of the account opening form, what you can do is you can provide a separate MLM declaration. So let's say you approach the branch, they gave you an account opening form, and MLM declaration was not already a part of that form. You will have to provide MLM declaration on the letterhead of your organization. So if you're not a multi-level marketing entity, it's a simple single line. I have already provided in the format. All you have to say is on the letterhead, our organization XXX is not a multi-level marketing entity. And then all the authorized signatories will sign at the bottom, and that's sufficient. Okay. You can, if you are a multi-level marketing entity, in that case, you will have to submit the detailed list, not a single line. That is given in the format, and it's already part of the account opening form, as I already said. Okay, so what are the other requirements, other documents that you have to provide? PAN of the organization, this is mandatory. Then certificate of registration or certificate of incorporation. Okay, for whichever is applicable for your organization. Similarly, the memorandum and articles of association, or the bylaws, or the trust deed, whichever is for your organization. Then for savings account only, you will have to submit 12A or 12AA certificate. If you are going to open a current account, then 12A certificate is not required. Okay. All of these documents have to be signed by all the authorized signatories. The PAN has to be signed by all the authorized signatories, similarly for the certificate. For the trust deed or memorandum and articles of association, we understand that sometimes these documents can be several pages long. So what we will allow is all the authorized signatories can sign the first page and the last page. And in the intervening pages, in the remaining pages, only a single authorized signatory can sign, or all of them can initial on all the intervening pages. Okay. Then finally, one thing you should keep in mind that all these documents have to be verified from the original. So please carry the original when you approach the branch, so that they can also verify them from the original. Okay. Another thing you should keep in mind, all documents have to be signed by all the authorized signatories. Please remember this. So even if you have 5 authorized signatories and your mode of operation is any one of the 5 can sign, still every document has to be verified by all 5 authorized signatories. Okay. Another point you should keep in mind, all the documents have to be in either English or in Hindi. Okay, if any document is in vernacular language, in your local language, in that case, what you have to do is you have to still submit a photocopy of that, which will be verified from the original. But in addition, you will also have to get it translated and get the translation notarized. Then that notarized translation in original has to be submitted to the bank. Okay, we will receive that as additional proof of what the document is actually saying. Okay, and then we will go through those documents, because we also have to understand what the registration certificate says, what is being registered, what is the registered address, and then we have to understand what are the bylaws of your organization. So please get it translated if it's in some other language. Then the account opening form. Instead of just quoting this, I'll actually show you the account opening form itself. So 1 minute. Okay, this is the latest account opening form that I have provided to you. Some branches might have an older version, so I'll tell you the differences as well. Okay, so most of the account opening form is easy to fill. The first line that you should start with is over here, whether you have an account with SBI or not. So if you already have an account with SBI, that account number should be mentioned over here. Then name of the entity. Here it's important that you there is no spelling mistake, no difference between the name that you're putting over here and the name in your documents. So the name in your PAN, the name in your registration certificate, your trust deed, and the name in your account opening form, all these names have to be identical. There should be no spelling difference. There should be no difference of the, for, any alphabet. We will accept abbreviations if some documents have both the full form and the abbreviation mentioned. But if one document has the full form and another document has the abbreviation, then that is not acceptable, because we have no proof document to verify that this abbreviation is for this full name. Okay. PAN of the organization, this is mandatory. Mention it here. Proof of identity, the documents you are submitting, you will have to take. Then details of related persons. Here there is some doubt, so I'll clarify. The related persons, over here it goes into detail, but in general you can use the simple rule of thumb. All the members in your organization, the total number of trustees or the total number of members, that is the number you should mention over here. All of them are related to your organization. Okay. Then the number of beneficial owners. Okay, so who are the beneficial owners of your organization? Charitable organizations, NGOs don't have any owners, while companies do. So for companies, beneficial owners will be your total number of directors. But for NGOs, you will instead of beneficial owners, what is applicable to you is the number of controlling persons. Okay, so how many controlling persons total you have, that is your beneficial owners. Who are the controlling persons? People who have a particular office or a post in your organization. So the chairman, vice president, secretary, treasurer, managing director, things like that. Any kind of post, any kind of designation who has a special authority, they will be your beneficial owners, or as I said, they will be your controlling persons. Okay, so that is the total number you have to mention over here. Okay. Proof of address. If you have a single address, you can mention it over here, but you have more than one addresses and you want a correspondence to be done at a particular address. In that case, you can mention more those addresses, but for each additional address, you will have to submit Annexure 3, which I'm going to come to, and you will also have to submit proof of each of those addresses. So only write down an address whose proof you have. Okay. Contact details. Here, mobile number, of course, everyone is going to remember, but please make sure you mention your email ID as well. That's going to make it easier to communicate regarding the account opening process. Nature of business. So here there's a lot of doubt. A lot of charitable organizations who are receiving foreign contributions, they say we are not a business, so this is not pertinent to you. Please understand, this is a common account opening form. At the top, you will see this is a common account opening form for all public sector banks, for every non-individual. So this is a common form for companies, for partnerships, for trusts as well. So nature of business. Instead, it will be nature of the organization. So what type of organization are you? You are not a manufacturer, trader, or a retailer. You can be a service provider, or you can take others and then write what type of service, what type of organization you are. If you are a temple, you can write temple. If you are a charitable organization focusing on persons with disabilities, you can write that over here. Then over here you see MLM undertaking. So this is what I was saying. If you're using the latest account opening form, MLM declaration has been incorporated. But if you're using an older version and you do not see MLM declaration on second page, in that case, you will have to provide it on the letterhead of your organization. So if you are not a multi-level marketing entity, you take the first one. If you are, you take the second one. Annual turnover, again, you don't have any turnover, but this is still applicable to you. So what is the total amount of expenditure or income you are expecting in a particular financial year? So the total amount of contribution you are expecting to receive, not just foreign contribution, foreign donations and domestic donations, foreign and domestic, the total contribution you're expecting in a financial year converted into Indian rupees, that total, whichever range it falls into, you should take that range. Okay. Type of account. This can be either a savings account or a current account, whichever you want. If you have 12A certificate, you will choose savings, but otherwise you should choose current only. The rest are not applicable. Mode of operation, I recommend just choosing as per board resolution, because if you choose one of the others and it doesn't match your board resolution exactly, that's going to be another discrepancy that you will have to change either the account opening form or the board resolution. So just take as per board resolution, and then in the board resolution, you should go into details. Service is required. You can take whatever you want, but do not leave corporate internet banking blank, because right now we are not issuing internet banking at the same time as we are opening the account, because FCRA accounts have to be activated after opening. After opening the account, your account will be in a stopped status. It will not receive any funds or anything. You will have to get it activated by receiving confirmation from MHA by either completing your FCRA registration or getting your account details updated with MHA. Either way, after the account opening, we will guide you. But once that is done, we will issue internet banking through the online process. So please do not choose any of these two, leave it blank. Then checkbook is required. You should always take this, but in the rest, it's up to you, however, whichever details you want to fill in, whatever you require. Account variant, none of these are applicable to you. Okay. All of these are not applicable. You can only take others and put FCRA, or you can leave it blank as well. If you leave it blank, we already know this is for FCRA account opening. Okay. Other entity details. This is important, and most of the entities leave it blank. So if you're a financial institution, you will take the first option. But if you're not a financial institution, banks, insurance agencies, etc., are financial institutions. So if you're a non-financial entity, you will take the second option, but you will also have to choose whether you're active NFE or a passive NFE. So what is the difference between active NFE and passive NFE? You will go through if you go through the instructions given at the end of this account opening form, instructions H and instructions I, these go through the details of active and passive NFEs. Okay, so you can go through those yourself. 90% of organizations are active NFEs, but there are some who are passive NFEs. So you are the one who is aware of your particular organization's details. So go through those instructions and choose whether you're active or passive. Then country of tax residence as per tax laws. If you are only liable to pay taxes in India, then tick yes and leave the rest of it blank, or you can cross it out. If you are liable to pay taxes outside India as well as in India, or just purely outside India, then you will take no, and then you will have to fill in the details as per your tax liability. This fourth page, this is entirely not applicable, so I'm going to ignore it. You can also completely ignore it. Applicant declaration over here, it's important that all your authorized signatories, everyone who is going to be signing your checks, their photographs and signatures are provided, and the branch then has to verify it as well. So, but if there are more than 3 authorized signatories, there are only 3 places. If let's say there are 7 authorized signatories, you can take three printouts of this page, and please put their photographs and signatures on separate pages. Okay, please do not put more than three photographs and signatures on the same page because there is not enough space. Use extra printouts of this page. Then the sixth page is just for office use. Ignore it. Annexure. One thing on sixth page you will find industry codes, but mostly if these manufacturers and traders are not applicable, you can choose 99 miscellaneous, which is the last code. Then annexure 1 is only applicable. There are a total of 5 annexures that I'll go through one by one. The first annexure is only applicable for financial institutions. So if you're not an FI, you can ignore it. Annexure 2. This is going to be required for all your authorized signatories as well as all your controlling persons. So I already explained who are the controlling persons. I'll go into more detail later when I go back to the presentation. But over here, let's say it's a 3-page annexure and it will have to be filled individually by each of your authorized signatory and controlling person. But let's go through what are the details which have to be filled. So the first point over here, you can fill if you understand, but if you have some doubts, this we can fill ourselves as long as you have provided the rest of the documents. So you can ignore it as well. Second, personal details. These are important. Please do not leave any section blank. All of these are marked star because they have to be filled mandatorily. Okay. Father's name, mother's name. If you're married, then the spouse's name. These sections have to be filled. All of this have to be selected. If your nationality, your residential status, your marital status, all of these you have to choose correctly. Occupation type, if you're a service, whether you're public, private or government sector, or if you're not in service, then self-employed or professional, whatever status you have. Everything has to be filled all the way to the bottom, and then on the next page, your PAN number, everything is required. Okay. For those who don't have a PAN number, they can fill on the third page form 60, and they can put their signature over here. And in that case, even without PAN, the documents will be accepted. Then the signature is required over here, and the branch will verify at the bottom for each and every authorized signature. Annexure 3. So this is important if you have multiple correspondences. So multiple addresses, if your organization has, let's say you have a head office, which is your office which has been registered in your trust deed, etc. But that office is in some other state or very far away, and you have another local office which is also in the name of your organization, and you want all communication to be done with that office. So in that case, what you can do is on the first page, you can write your local address in the second address column, and you will have to provide annexure 3 for your local address. Then all communications will be done through your local address. But with annexure 3, you will also have to provide a proof of that address. Okay. Annexure 4. So I repeatedly mentioned who are the authorized signatories and the controlling persons, but during explaining annexure 4, the distinction becomes important. So let's go through it. The name of the customer, this is just the name of the organization, easy. Registered address, again easy. But in the table, let's come to the table. The first column is to be filled for every controlling person, all the controlling persons of the organization. So who are the controlling persons? For company, it's all of the directors. And for other institutes like a charitable organization, if you have a chairman, a secretary, a treasurer, and a managing director, that means you have 4 controlling persons. If you have another president or vice president as well, then those are also your controlling persons. So every post holder in your organization is a controlling person. Doesn't matter if they are an authorized signatory or not. Doesn't matter whether they are going to sign your checks or not. It doesn't even matter if they are in India or not. If they are, they have some specific position in your organization, they are a controlling person, and their name has to be mentioned in this table along with the rest of the details. Okay, every controlling person has to be mandatorily mentioned. Then controlling ownership interest. For companies, this is easy enough. They already have these details. They also submit it to the registrar of companies. But for other organizations, your members keep changing. For charitable organizations and trusts, your members are liable to change, and none of the members have any specific ownership over the funds of the organization. So the last column in that case will just be 0%. Okay, it doesn't have to be divided equally. Everyone can have 0% interest, 0% ownership. That is perfectly acceptable to us. Okay, but every controlling person has to be mentioned. Okay, then who are going to sign this document? The authorized signatories, not the controlling persons, the authorized signatories. Who are the authorized signatories? The people that your board resolution says are going to operate your account. Those are your authorized signatories. Okay, so all of them, everyone has to sign over here on the first line one by one. Then their names have to be mentioned in the second line, and if they have some stamps, those stamps have to be put on the third line. If they don't have any stamp, then a common stamp or just their designation can be mentioned. Okay. Then Annexure 4 also has to be stamped by the branch, verified by the branch. Annexure 5, which is the last annexure, if you have any kind of credit facility with any bank, whether it be State Bank of India or some other bank, any loan or a cash credit or overdraft facility, then you will tick the appropriate section as yes, and then fill in the rest of the details as are applicable to you. Okay, but if you have no credit facility with any bank, you will have to declare that by ticking no in both of these. Okay, and then leave the rest of it blank if you have no credit facility. And at the bottom, all the authorized signatories have to sign. I repeat, every document, including Annexure 5, Annexure 4, everything which requires signature from authorized signatories has to be signed by all the authorized signatories. Okay. So Annexure 5 is just your credit declaration. Then these are your instructions. And on the second page over here, you will see passive NFE and active NFE, as I said. So you can go through these and decide which is applicable for your organization. Okay. So let's come back to the presentation. I left Annexure 2 out. I went into some details, but I'll go into more details about who all has to submit Annexure 2 and what additional documents and things are required with Annexure 2, because it's very important, and that is usually the place where there are some discrepancies. Okay. Okay, so I've already gone through the details of the account opening form and first and third annexure. Annexure 2. This is, please remember, each person has to submit their own separate Annexure 2. All names cannot be mentioned in the same annexure. Okay, then that is the point of the first, that is the first point. Then secondly, who all has to submit? All the authorized signatories, of course, and then all the controlling persons of your organization. Everyone who has a post or an office in your organization. The examples are the same: chairman, secretary, treasurer, vice president, managing directors, things like that. Okay. Then in addition to, okay, so first I should explain why this is required. So this is mandatory because as per the government's rules, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, we have to have the information of who is going to be managing the funds of the organization. So of course, all the authorized signatories who are going to sign the checks will be managing the funds. That is obvious. So their Annexure 2 is required. But in addition, the controlling persons of the organization are also controllers of the funds. Okay. There's a question which is pertinent to this, which has been asked in chat. So let's answer that. A normal member or a normal trustee is not a controlling person. Okay. Only the persons who bear office in your organization are the controlling persons. But there is an exception. Suppose you have a trust made up of just 3 or 4 trustees, and none of them have been assigned any special office. All of them are equally a trustee. In that case, we are going to assume that all of them are your controlling persons. Okay, so someone saying they are not able to hear me. I expect that is a problem only on their end. If the rest of you are able to hear me, please can someone type in the chat if you are able to hear me or not. Okay, volume. If there is an issue with the volume, so you will have to increase your volume. I'll try to speak louder. Okay. So coming back, there are some questions that you're asking in the chat. So let's address those. Let's come back to the presentation actually and explain. So if an organization has just trustees and no specific designation, or just members and no office holder, in that case, by default, we are going to assume everyone is a controlling person because no one has been given any special authorization. So all of them will have to submit Annexure 2. But if there is a controlling person in your organization, even if there is just a single controlling person, just a chairman, and he has some specific obligations in your organization, the rest are just normal members, that is perfectly fine. A single controlling person is okay. Okay. Then apart from submitting Annexure 2, they have to have two more things. One is they have to submit their KYC documents, Aadhaar card, PAN card, self-attested, and they also have to have an account or CIF with State Bank of India. So every member doesn't have to have an account or CIF with SBI. Only two kinds of people: the authorized signatories and the controlling persons. Okay, someone who is not a controlling person, just a normal member, they don't have to have an account with SBI, even if they are putting their signature on the board resolution. As I explained earlier, anyone who is putting their signature on the board resolution have to submit their self-attested KYC. But if they are just a normal member, in that case, they do not have to submit Annexure 2. They do not have to have an account with SBI. Okay. So coming back, regarding this account, if suppose if they had an account earlier, they don't have to have a savings account with SBI. If they had a current account or of their particular name was attached as a beneficial owner, or if they had a PPF account, or if they earlier had a loan account, or some account which was held jointly or it was closed, or in all of those cases, they will already have a CIF with SBI. Okay. But if they have never had any kind of relationship with SBI, then a CIF will have to be created, mandatory for everyone who is going to submit. Creation, but CIF creation is a lengthier process. Filling that form has to be filled manually. Instead, what we recommend is you opt for the account opening process, which is easier, smoother. It is a digital process. The forms are generated pre-filled. Okay, and in fact, you can open your account without even visiting a branch by opting for a Insta savings account, which I'll explain later. So opening the account is the easier process. But if for some reason you definitely do not want to open an account, you can opt to open just a CIF with SBI. There is another shortcoming of CIF, which is why I'm recommending accounts. The CIF, if not linked to an account within 7 days, will automatically expire, and we will have to create the CIF all over again. This is why I'm recommending opening an account, because with the account, the CIF will be created and it will stay there. It will not expire. Okay. If for some reason you want to take the risk, we recommend that you ask the branch to not open the CIF immediately. They should take your documents, take the CIF creation form, send the documents by email to us. We will verify. If there are any discrepancies, we'll let the branch know. Then once all the discrepancies and errors have been resolved, at that point, the branch, before sending us the physical documents, they should open the CIF and write down the CIF number on the form. We'll receive it within 5-6 days and we'll open the account immediately. So that 7 day, that is the only way to avoid that 7-day time restriction. Okay. Annexure 4 and Annexure 5 I've already explained. Okay, one thing I should mention along with Annexure 5, if you have a credit facility with any other bank, in that case, you will have to submit no objection certificate from that bank as well. Okay, this, as I explained earlier, this is the method of opening the account online without visiting the branch. So you will have to, on your mobile, you will have to download YONO app, YONO SBI, which is the official app of State Bank of India. Then when you open this app, on the first screen, you're going to see this option new to SBI. Okay, So if you have never had any kind of relationship with SBI, you can choose new to SBI, and there you can choose open a savings account, and you will see two types of savings account options. The digital saving account is, in this case, you will have to fill in your details and you will have to visit the branch to open the account. So you should choose Insta Savings account. There are some restrictions of the Insta Savings account which will be lifted if you visit the branch within 1 year of opening this account with your KYC documents. But the account number will be generated immediately within 10-15 minutes, or as soon as you can complete the process, and your account number will be generated at the same time. Okay, so this is the method I recommend if someone is quarantined or if he is for some reason in a very remote location and not able to visit the branch. This process is only applicable for resident Indians and above the age of 18 years. Okay, so you have to be both above the age of 18 years and a resident Indian. If someone is a foreign national or an NRI or OCI or something like that, they are not eligible for this method. In that case, they will have to approach nearby branch for opening the CIF or account. Now, internet banking, as I said earlier, please do not opt for internet banking at the same time as you are opening the account, if it is, and do not mention it in the board resolution either. Okay, for internet banking, after your account has been activated, what we will do is you can go to onlinesbi.com. We will guide you with the process. There is a separate internet banking team dedicated at the FCRSL. They will guide you, but I'll explain over here as well. So you go to onlinesbi.com, and there's a portal for businesses where you can register, start a new registration process with your account details, and it will automatically generate a pre-filled internet banking form. All the details will be filled. It will also generate a board resolution for internet banking. You do not have to get that board resolution on the letterhead of your organization. If it's just on a simple plain paper, that is acceptable to us. But the board resolution again for internet banking has to be signed by the quorum, and the rest of the documents have to be signed by all the authorized signatories. Then you can submit those documents to your nearby branch, and if they have any account of your organization, if they have your utilization account, or if they earlier had your savings or current account of your organization, they can issue internet banking to you. Okay, if you already have internet banking for that particular account, that's even easier. You just have to get access, authorize the access for your FCR account, which will be done after the account has been activated. Okay, but if you do not have any account with that particular branch, you can ask that branch to forward those documents to New Delhi main branch, and we will issue internet banking to your account. Okay. So we have gone through which documents are required, what is the process at various steps, but immediately after submitting the documents, what you should do is, please make sure you inform the branch as well, and you are aware, do not send any physical documents to us. If you send us physical documents, hard copies, and there is an error in that, we will have to send them back to you. That's a waste of time. So please scan the documents and send them to us by email. Okay, the branch can do that. It's the branch's responsibility to scan and forward those documents to us, and we will then go through those documents and verify if there are any discrepancies or errors or not. If there are no errors, we'll let you know to send the physical documents. If there are any errors, then we will send the response both to the branch, and in CC we'll keep your email ID as well. So as soon as you receive that email with the discrepancies list, you should go through it, and if there are any discrepancies which should be resolved by the customer, by your organization, so you should start working on it immediately. And once that has been corrected, you can approach the branch. In that email, you will also have the contact information for your cases scrutinizer. So you can contact them directly if you have any questions or doubts, or if you think some point is not pertinent. Okay. So that is your responsibility after submitting the documents, coordinating with FCRSL, your scrutinizer, and your particular branch. Some etiquette we request you to observe while sending the emails. The first is, please only send the emails to fcra.00691@sbi.co.in. Do not send your documents to any other email address, because then we are only working on documents that have been received to this email address. Additionally, we request you to please only respond to the emails you receive from us, and do not start a new email thread for the same entity, the same organization. This is important because if you send the documents once and we send you a list of discrepancies, and you send the rectified documents as a new email address, new email. In that case, what is going to happen is your case is now going to be assigned to a new scrutinizer, because we are going to think that's a new case. So to avoid that kind of duplication and waste of time, always respond to the same trailing mail, and we will see from the trailing mail who is your scrutinizer. We'll let them know that an update has come, and they will then respond to you accordingly. Okay. Another thing I should mention is the timeline over here. So the timeline of as soon as we receive an email from the branch with your documents, we will send you a response within 2 to 3 days, that an acknowledgement that we have received your email. And then after 3 to 4 more days, it will a scrutinizer is going to get back to you with the list of the discrepancies, or whether everything was correct or not in your account. Okay, so you can expect a total time frame of around 5 to 7 working days. Okay. If you're facing any difficulties, if your email has not been responded in a long time, even more than 1 week, in that case, you can send us a reminder, or if you have any queries, you can contact us at this email address, and you can also call us on the landline numbers given over here. Another thing I should mention, I'm going to mention in the chat, as I said at the start of this presentation, if a particular branch, you can approach any branch for submitting these documents, but if a particular branch is not cooperating with you and they're saying we will not do this and we will not verify these documents, or we are not responsible for opening this account, in that case, you can raise the complaint against that branch at a website that I'm going to type in the chat. Okay. Yes, so you can use this, go to this website, and there you will be able to put in your details. Please mention the branch name, and if you have the branch code as well, it's written on their board itself. Okay, so in that case, your complaint will automatically go to the regional manager who is in charge of the branch, and they will automatically respond, escalate the issue if required, and they will coordinate with the branch manager and make sure they attend to your case. Okay, so now I'm going to open this session for question and answers. A lot of you have asked some questions in the chat itself, but I will not be able to address those because there have been a lot of questions. I'll address those at the end of the meeting, but in the meantime, you can go ahead and unmute and ask your question. Please, only one person at a time, and I'll try to answer everyone. Go ahead.
Sir, how many utilization account can be opened?
How many?
Utilization accounts can be opened.
Utilization account is just a normal account, your savings or a current account. You have as many accounts as you want. For your convenience, you have many accounts, but you have as many utilizations as you want. With one bank, you will have please only unmute your mic when you are going to ask a question. If someone else is asking a question or I'm responding to someone, mute your mic again, because if there is a lot of noise, I will not be no one will be able to hear me.
Sir, your voice is not clear.
My voice is not clear, so I'll repeat once more. You can have one but overall you can have as many accounts. In the chat, someone said working. This link is sensitive. There's a lot of noise. The link is case sensitive. The CMS at the end is case sensitive. Let me check if I've tagged it correctly. cms.onlinesba.com/CMS. Yes, the link is correct, the CMS at the end is case sensitive. It has to be in capitals. Okay. Yes, another question for me.
मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है सर।
हाँ पूछिए सर।
ये डॉक्यूमेंट हमारा जो अकाउंट है
दो जने साथ में बोल रहे हैं सर। एक मिनट, दो जने साथ में बोल रहे हैं। रामकृष्ण जी आप बोलिए कि आपका क्वेश्चन।
मेरा जो अकाउंट है उसको हम यूटिलाइजेशन अकाउंट के रूप में हम कंसीडर सकते हैं या नहीं?
बिल्कुल हाँ सर, आपका जो ऑलरेडी FCRA या कोई और अकाउंट
पहले का जो अकाउंट था। हेलो
हाँ बोलिए।
सर हमारा एक मेरा क्वेश्चन है, चलिए हम तो एक नया अकाउंट दिल्ली मेन ब्रांच में हमको स्टेट बैंक में खोलना है। पहले जो हमारा अकाउंट था यूज फॉर यूटिलाइजेशन अकाउंट।
Yes, it can be used. आपके existing utilization account आप कंटिन्यू कर सकते हैं यूज करने के लिए, या फिर अगर आप किसी और बैंक के साथ आपका FCRA अकाउंट है तो आप उसकी यूटिलाइजेशन में कन्वर्ट करा सकते हैं।
अच्छा, तो जो हमको अलग से
यूटिलाइजेशन अकाउंट आपको जरूर चाहिए होगा। SBI के साथ होना जरूरी है, किसी भी बैंक के साथ हो सकता है। SBI के साथ
आपको ऑलरेडी एक एग्जिस्टिंग अकाउंट है, FCRA अकाउंnt है।
हाँ,
उसी अकाउंट को हम यूटिलाइजेशन अकाउंट
कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं।
কিছু শোনা যাচ্ছে না কি এরকম ভাবে মাত্র
this is
email ID FCRA
This is regarding FCRA certificate. I am having a problem. Some name correction is there. So
name certificate.
Yes, FCRA certificate. Some name spelling name correction is there. Shall we apply the name correction? Then we can take the.
Let me ask you a question. Your PAN of the organization and the custody of the organization or certificate, these have the same name.
Certificate and PAN is same, sir. Even also the certificate also that some name in short form is there. FCRA certificate. Short form.
Only the FCRA certificate has the credit. That is fine. You can avoid giving us the FCRA certificate because anyways FCRA certificate is not mandatory. I'm going to mute everyone.
constant বলেন
Please unmute your mic only when you are asking the question. If someone else is asking the question or I'm answering a question, please do not unmute because then I'm not able to hear. Okay, Mr. Gopal Rao, let me answer the question. Mr. Sumit Kumar, I'll get back to you. Please, in the meantime, I'm going to mute you again. Please do not unmute. Okay, so your question was if only your FCRA certificate has misspelling, in that case, you do not need to provide anything else for correction if all your other documents are correct. FCRA certificate, during FCRA registration or updation, you will coordinate with MHA and get the correct information, the name corrected there. Okay, so your account will be open, but it will only get activated when issued by MHA is correct. That's all the correct.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Samit Kumar, please go ahead, ask the question.
hello
Let's answer Mr. Samit Kumar's question first, ma'am, then I'll get back to you.
okay
Yes, Mr. Samit Kumar.
Samit
Hello. My question is. Hello.
Yes, sir. Mr. Samit Kumar, go ahead.
बता रहा है के बारे में, हमारा जो एग्जिस्टिंग FCRA बैंक अकाउंट है उसमें प्रेसिडेंट, सेक्रेटरी जनरल एंड ट्रेजरर ये ऑथोराइज सिग्नेटरीज है।
हाँ,
तो
ठीक है
ये इसके अलावा जो भी बोर्ड मेंबर्स है 9 लोगों का, वो सारे लोगों का सिग्नेचर चाहिए बैंक अकाउंट खोलने की।
सिग्नेटरीज आपको जितने रखने हैं आप उतने रखिए और बोर्ड रेजोल्यूशन एक्सेट्रा पे कोरम के हिसाब से आप साइन कर दीजिए। बट आपने जो 3 पोजीशंस बताई उसके सिवा अगर कोई और आपके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफिस सर आपके स्लाइड वॉइस थोड़ी ज्यादा है तो मैं म्यूट कर रहा हूँ फिर से। एक मिनट। हाँ, तो अगर आपने 3 जो ऑथराइज सिग्नेटरीज बताए, तीनों तो ऑफिस बियरर्स हैं ही, तो उनका एनेक्चर 2 चाहिए होगा। उसके सिवाय बाकी सबको साइन करने की जरूरत नहीं है डॉक्यूमेंट्स। पर अगर आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में कोई चौथा और पांचवा ऑफिस होल्डर है, तो उनका भी एनेक्चर 2 हमें चाहिए होगा। ठीक है सर, क्योंकि वो कंट्रोलिंग पर्सन है। बाकी बोर्ड रेजोल्यूशन पे जो भी आपका कोरम की रिक्वायरमेंट है उतने लोग साइन करेंगे, सारे लोगों के साइन की जरूरत नहीं है। सिर्फ कोरम में, मतलब आपके अगर मान लीजिए 11 मेंबर्स हैं और कोरम में कहता है 50%, तो उस या 50% कहता है या 6 कहता है, तो आपको 6 लोगों के साइन की जरूरत है बस। ठीक है? यस मैम, गो अहेड।
Yes.
We have three signatories and we have a utilization accounts already with SBI. Only one of the signatories has another account with SBI. Do the other 2 signatories also have to open an account?
No, in that case, if you already have a utilization account, then as per beneficiary ownership requirements, their CIF should already have been created. So you can approach the branch who has your account and ask them what their CIFs are. Okay.
Oh, okay.
In case they have not properly completed the process and they have not created a CIF, in that case, CIF will have to be created, or if necessary, you can also open the account. Whichever is necessary.
If for this purpose, if I suppose we open an account and we don't really do any transactions in that, is that a problem?
If you are going to open an account, you will have to maintain a minimum balance. At this point, due to the corona pandemic, the minimum balances have been waived. But depending on your region, the minimum balance can be anywhere from 500 rupees to 3,000 rupees.
Okay, that's all. So it doesn't matter if we don't operate the account thereafter.
Yes, that is perfectly fine.
Okay, thank you. And
Sir, our first 30 years old trust, sir, the trust members all are gone actually. No one was there. So we had a resolution for that one new member, sir. So we have to, the resolution is enough for that one, that new members?
No, in that case, as I said, you will have to provide the list of current members.
Yes.
Board resolution is not satisfactory, so you will have to either get it verified from the registrar, or you can also, instead of going to the registrar, update your list on NGO. Okay, but on the letterhead, the list of current members and NGO Darpan, that is sufficient proof.
NGO Darpan, okay.
Okay, sir.
That is required, all signatories, sir, that signature holders, this one, authorized signatories, all are required?
Authorized signatories, if authorized signatories are not your members, you do not have to mention them in the list. Okay, but yes, who is going to sign the list of members? The list of members will again be signed by the quorum, not your authorized signatories, the quorum of your organization. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? There is any doubt? Yes,
sir. Hello. Yeah. So, sir, we have a trust in that, we have opened FCRA account and it has been opened since 4-5 years, but we have not received any foreign contribution, but still we want to maintain the bank account. So then also it is mandatory for us to open an SBI account, or when we are intending to receive foreign contribution, then at that time we can open.
You can go ahead and open the account at that time. You do not have to open it immediately. The account opening process.
So it is not mandatory. If I have a FCRA registration certificate, I have to mandatorily open. It is not mandatory.
No, it's not mandatory. It's just
only
that
if we intend.
Yes, FCRA account will basically become defunct, and you can either close it after removing the funds or whatever you want, but it will not be able to receive any foreign contributions. You will have to.
Whenever we intend to, then at that time we can open.
Yes, sure.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Sure.
So one more question. We have an FCRA account with the State Bank of India at Kolkata, right? So do we need to open a separate utilization account?
No, you can. You will have to open a FCRA with New Delhi main branch, and you can get your old FCRA converted into a utilization.
Okay, so already all the transactions to be operated in the existing account, so that is called the utilization account, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Can I speak now?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Actually, what is problem is that regarding the KYC form, our 3 signatories are constant; they are not changing. But the other office bearers, we have 2 treasurers, 2 secretaries, 2 vice presidents. Total is 7. So others keep on changing, but the secretary, treasurer, and president. I'm the president of the organization. So we are constant. We are not changing. So it is difficult, if they change immediately, because we are all social workers now, volunteer workers. So
that is fine, ma'am.
We change anytime. So what we need to do?
All organizations undergo changes, all kinds of trusts undergo changes. We understand that. We just have to receive the documents as per the details at the time of opening the account. Okay, and then of course, whenever you undergo a change, it's one of the terms and conditions you agree to while opening the form, opening the account, that whenever there is a change in the organization, you will update State Bank of India as well. Okay. So you can do that as your discussion. Understand that there are going to be changes.
Yes. Another thing is regarding utilization certificate. We have an FCRA account in Central Bank of India. We are transferring the amount with the SBI. We need a utilization certificate.
One moment, Mr. Samit Kumar, please mute. There's a lot of noise on your microphone for some reason. So I'll let you ask the question after this, but please. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Regarding utilization certificate, do we have to open another? Because we already have an FCRA account with Central Bank of India. We want to transfer it to SBI. So for that reason, we have to. Do we have to open a utilization account for that?
No, not mandatory. As I said, you can convert your own FCRA into utilization. If both the accounts are, this is somewhat similar to having an NRE and an NRO account. So some of you might already be aware, if NRE is in some other bank and NRO is in some other bank, sometimes in some particular transactions you might face some issues. Depends on how the banks are set up, what are their regulations. But if both the accounts are in the same bank, it's never going to be an issue. So it's somewhat similar process. Your FCRA account can only be debited and funds transferred to the utilization account. So if both the accounts are in the same bank, it's easier. In the future, there's hopefully not going to be any kind of problems while transacting. But again, this is not mandatory. And if there are any problems, they can solve it.
That means if you have an utilization certificate with the central bank, you need not open. You can convert it. You are saying, because I'm a little confused about it. Just. You can do so.
A FCRA account has to be opened in New Delhi, but utilization account can you can just convert the old accounts into utilization.
That's another thing regarding Darpan. What problem we have to get certified by Darpan? But you said the Darpan we can't certify something with the Darpan. But that is not clear. That is NGO Darpan, but that is not clear. Yes.
NGO Darpan is a public accessible government website where every non-government organization can update fill in their details using their own login credentials, and then anyone can go to that website, search for a particular NGO, and look up who are their members and other details as well. So if you update your current list of members or NGO Darpan, we can, or the branch can go there and verify that the list of members you have provided to us matches with NGO Darpan. And NGO Darpan, as I said, is a government website. If you are updating your members there, that means you're informing the government that these are your current members. Okay, so that along with the document is sufficient.
But we are already registered organization in spite of that, because the time processing, consuming thing. So we have to.
You will already have NGO Darpan IDs created. You can contact NGO Darpan support regarding that. But if you are facing any issues, the other option is you can get your current list of members stamped by the registrar.
By the registrar, yeah. Another thing is that, do you have any complaint number? Suppose the bank is not dealing properly. Can you give a phone number? Immediately we can contact you.
I have already given the website for complaint.
Only that is okay. That is done. Yeah, we have received it.
Make sure you mention the branch where you are facing the issues. There are also contact numbers where you can face the issue. But it's a common contact information, so it's better if you go to the website and you can fill in the details yourself. Okay, but if you want, you can also Google search on Google or complaint numbers. Those are available on the public.
Yeah, that another thing is we went to SBI branch. They said only the signatories have to. They had given 3 KY forms. That only the signatory. When we asked for more forms, because I told you 7 of us office bearers. So they said 3 will do. So you don't need to give except 2 forms. But we are giving you the that numbers, all the details, that PAN card number, Aadhaar card number. We are providing everything attested, but only the KY, that annexure 2 form, we 3 signatories are providing. Will it do, sir?
No, it will not do. So, as I said at the beginning of this presentation as well, not all branches are aware of all the requirements that go into opening the FCRA account. Each main branch में तो जाना ही नहीं है. Regarding this, you can see that.
Can't hear, ma'am. Can't hear, sir.
Yes, there is some noise.
So we have to only the office bearers. You need
all the office bearers as well as all the authorized signatories. Okay, so if you have 7 office bearers, those 7 office bearers plus authorized signatories. If 2 or 3 of those are the authorized signatories, then they are common and they do not have to submit 2 copies of annexure. Okay, Mr. Samit Kumar, you have a question for me? No, 1 o'clock.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Hello. It's mandatory.
Sir, yes. What is mandatory?
To submit
there's a lot of noise.
The member has approved the register of the society.
Sir, excuse me. Mr. Samit Kumar, there is some kind of problem with either your connection or your microphone, and I'm not able to understand your question this time at all. I have no idea what you're saying. So in that case, I would recommend if I don't address your question in some other way, you can write your question to the email address given over here, and we will get back. Okay.
Sir, I have a question.
Hello.
So,
yes, sir.
Hello. So
yes.
What happens to the existing funds that we have in our FCRA account?
So
can those funds be transferred to SBI main branch? Will that be allowed?
That is not going to be allowed. So let me explain over here. Your FCRA account is a domestic account that is allowed to receive foreign contributions. Okay. So the account that is going to be opened with New Delhi main branch is going to be FCRA account. It is only going to receive funds from foreign sources. Your old FCRA account, those funds it will not be able to receive new contribution, but the old funds can still be used, or they can be transferred to your SBI's utilization account or any other utilization account. Okay, it cannot be transferred to the new FCRA account.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Another question?
सर एक क्वेश्चन ये पहले साउंड क्लियर नहीं थी. क्या यूटिलाइजेशन अकाउंट एक से ज्यादा रख सकते हैं सर? क्या?
हाँ, एक से ज्यादा आप रख सकते हैं. आपका यूटिलाइजेशन अकाउंट एक बैंक में एक होगा, पर आप अलग अलग बैंक में रखिए, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है.
ओके सर, थैंक यू.
हेलो.
यस
सर, जैसे ये हार्ड कॉपी मेन ब्रांच में सबमिट नहीं करना.
हाँ, हार्ड कॉपीज मेन ब्रांच में जब पहुंचेंगी तभी आपका अकाउंट खुलेगा. तभी हमें फर्दर अपने सेंट्रलाइज्ड प्रोसेसिंग सेल पे सारे डॉक्यूमेंट सबमिट करने पड़ेंगे.
पहले डॉक्यूमेंट सबमिट करने, उसके बाद
तो अगर आप दिल्ली के पास है तो आप दिल्ली में आके हमारी यहाँ पे सारा डॉक्यूमेंट सबमिट कर सकते हैं. बट अगर आप दिल्ली से दूर है, किसी और है, तो इन दैट केस आप ईमेल के थ्रू सारे कोऑर्डिनेशन कीजिए, सारा कंप्लीट कीजिए. उसके बाद फिजिकल डॉक्यूमेंट्स आप कुरियर या स्पीड पोस्ट के थ्रू भिजवा सकते हैं. ये सारा काम एक्चुअली ब्रांच का है, आप ब्रांच के पास कोऑर्डिनेट कर सकते हैं. ठीक है,
नियर बाय ब्रांच हो.
हेलो.
Yes, Mr. Jagan Mohan Rao.
Good morning, sir. As regards annexure 2 to be filled in by M1 or S1,
Yes.
if where a CIF reference number is given, is still Aadhaar and PAN necessary for as a KYC?
Yes, 2 documents are necessary for KYC, but let's say someone doesn't have a PAN. They can instead sign the form 60 on page 3. If someone doesn't
They have. So besides CAF number, Aadhaar and PAN are also required.
Aadhaar, PAN, and some other
Aadhaar
is required. Aadhaar is the first one, or you can have passport, voter ID card, driving license, job card, things like that.
Are we required to carry the originals there, or certified copies will do?
Certified from whom? Self-attested is not enough. Certified from any other branch which is nearby. Suppose one of your authorized signatories or controlling person is in some other state. They can take their original documents to a nearby branch, get them certified from the original, and then those can be forwarded to your branch.
Okay, sir. Number 2, as regards correspondence address, Airtel bill and rental deed will do as proof?
No. Rental deed will not do. Utility bill in the name of the organization will have to be submitted.
Airtel bill, how about Airtel bill?
Airtel bill is for a landline or a mobile number.
Landline.
Landline is acceptable.
Okay, sir. Lastly, as regards, if we want to open a FCRA account and utilization account with SBI, New Delhi branch, same resolution, both resolution will do, or separate resolutions are required?
So if you want to open the utilization account with New Delhi main branch as well, in that case, both resolutions are not required. So you are
one resolution is sufficient.
Yes, one resolution is sufficient if both the accounts are to be opened with same branch. That resolution, of course, must mention both types of accounts. Okay.
Okay, sir. And thereafter, the signatory's signature will also be given.
The direct
account opening, account operating signatures will also be reflected.
On the
there are four signatories, 4 signatures will be given, and also this will be certified as a true copy by quorum of the association.
No true copy. It's actually the original board resolution that you are going to submit passed if it has been signed by the quorum. So the original copy itself has to be submitted.
So if the quorum is, I mean, there are 5 members and the quorum is 1/4. That is means two members. Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
And 2 out of the 4 signatories, 2 are the office bearers. So that is sufficient.
Yes, that is sufficient. So those 4 authorized signatories sign it. That is sufficient.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello. Can I speak now?